Yeah, it is. I'm kind of blocking the light. Okay. Can you see everything okay out there? I hope you can. All right, I'm gonna get started soon. I'm gonna let some more people come in. I'm gonna do a self-portrait today using the elements of art that we learned in our last lesson a couple of days ago. I'm going to review those elements of art with you first, and then we're going to get into our self-portrait. So before I move anything, let me explain to you what I have out on the desk. So I have a sheet of paper. It's going to be a blank sheet of paper when we get started. I have a pencil. You can use, I'm using an H now. I might need to use darker or even use the black color pencil so that you can see it. But you're also going to need some crayons or color pencils or oil pastels, some type of blendable coloring medium. And this time I have an assortment of colors. So besides our primary colors that we covered in our lesson 2 days ago, I also have my secondary colors. So the primary colors are red, yellow, and blue, and my secondary colors are green, purple, and orange. And then I also have some skin tones and black as well, because we're doing a self-portrait today, so we're going to be coloring our skin in as well, and we want to get the best likeness we can because it's a self-portrait. I also have a felt tip marker. That's going to be for outlining and emphasizing the outline on our self-portrait, which I'll cover in some elements of design, some principles of design. We also have an eraser because we're going to do some sketching before we do drawing or finishing. So you may want to use the eraser to erase some mistakes you're not comfortable with. I'm using a kneaded eraser. It's my favorite kind of eraser. You don't really need a fidget spinner if you have a kneaded eraser, but any eraser will do. If you're using a number 2 pencil, the erasers on number 2 pencils are not that great, so I recommend getting just a solo eraser. So I'm going to go ahead and get organized here. I'm going to take all my pencils and I'm going to put them in my pencil jar because in my last lesson they got all over the place when I was working. I'm also going to take my felt tip marker and put it in there. I'm going to put this out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get the portrait out of the way, and we're going to review the elements of art. So this was our workbook that we made in the last lesson, the elements of art. And in our last lesson, we talked about these few elements of art. So we did line, and we covered what different types of line we can make. Here's a pictograph I did. So I've got straight lines, short lines, thick lines, dotted lines, jagged lines, and curvy lines, and curly lines. We're probably going to use a little bit of all of those. We covered shape as well. So for shape, we did some geometric shapes like circles, squares, and triangles. And then we also did some organic shapes. So we're going to use some of those in our lesson today. We also did form, which we may or may not get to in today's self-portrait, but form gives the impression of a 3D object. So when we did line, we were working with 1D, one-dimensional objects. When we did shapes, we were working with 2-dimensional objects. And when we do form, we're working with 3-dimensional objects, or the impression of. Then we did 4 was color, my favorite one, I think I told you. And I already went over this with the color pencils. We got our primary colors, blue, red, and yellow. And we also have our secondary colors, purple, green, and orange, which we mixed with the primary colors in order to get. We also covered warm and cool colors. If we want our self-portrait to be really exciting and exuberant, we might want to use warm colors. And if we want it to be calm and tranquil, we might want to use cool colors. We also covered value. Value is a really important part of the self-portrait lesson because you're learning a skill and how to use the pencil and the coloring tool in order to express value. So we go from light to dark, which we go from shade to tint to shade. We went from dark to light, and then we also did it with a color pencil. For the most part today, we're going to sketch the first part of doing our drawing. We're going to sketch with a very light value with our pencils, so that way we don't have to erase as much, and when we do erase, it's not that difficult. Same with the color pencils. We're going to go kind of a medium value with the color pencils, because we're going to stack colors on top of each other when we do our skin tone, and we want it to blend together smoothly. Our sixth element of art is space. We are not going to work too much with space. We do have a background and we do have some negative space in our self-portrait, but I'm not sure how much depth we're going to create after we put our big self-portraits on there. Also, we did texture, which was the last one and also one of my favorites, because in our self-portraits we get to do hair and clothing, or hair or clothing, and we'll cover the texture. So those are our elements of art that we covered in our last lesson, and hopefully you made this booklet with me. By the way, my name is Liberty Pearson, or my students call me Miss Liberty, and I'm an artist and an art educator. Speaking of the art education, before we start our self-portrait, I want to introduce you to my method of teaching art, which is learn, practice, master. So if for some reason you need to really focus on my video before you start drawing, you need to stay in the learning phase before you get to the practice, feel free to watch the video while I'm streaming and then replay it again and go through the steps on your own. It's just like I'll be there with you, and I'm there to support you. So learn, I explain to my students that that's the research part. As a professional artist, whenever I am doing any commissions or I'm doing some personal work, I always do a lot of research. So whether it's looking at images or reading how other artists complete things, or watching a teacher give you a lesson, or listening to a lesson that a teacher is giving you, or going to galleries, that's the learning portion of our lessons. And then we move on to practice. So practice is when you're working along with me, you're sketching, you're drawing from life, you're painting just to paint. It's not your final piece yet, and you could just keep doing it over and over and over and over again. You're just in practice, and that's my favorite place to be in, and also the place I'm in the longest, because last step is to master, and that's when we make our master pieces. Our masterpieces. So after you've learned a skill and you've practiced a skill, then you're mastering a skill. Or for us, we're learning about what we're going to create. We're practicing the creation of it, and then we're going to create our masterpiece. And you know, you don't have to get here right away. I've been told before that before you can master something, you need to study it for 10 years. My students are very surprised by that because they're only 10 years old. So when they get discouraged about not being able to complete a project, I let them know that they're still in the practice phase and there's nothing to worry about. Nobody's judging you. Now on to the project. So I have my sheet of paper, and hopefully it's in the camera. There we go. So I've got my sheet of paper. We're going to use our pencil, and let me know if you can or can't see it. So about 1/3 up the page. So we wanted to go like this. So that's 1/3, and that's 1/3. So about 1/3, we're going to make a really light line across here. And you might not be able to see it, but it's right here. We'll make a really light line. All right, and then about 2 inches, not this much, 2 inches, or 1.5 inches, we're gonna make another light line across. I don't know if you guys can see that, but that's another light line. So remember, we learned how to do value. We're doing this lighter value. So we're holding our pencil on the side, we're whispering it across the paper. So this is where our head's gonna go. Now, if you need to visually do it, you could split the paper in half by making another light line. Do you see how I'm doing all these light lines? They're going to be really important. So that's the center. So we're going to make our oval or upside down egg, or for me, my jaw's a little wider. So it's kind of like a squishy circle. We're going to start at the top, and we're going to go down to the bottom, and we're going to go around, and we're going to try to make this as balanced on one side as the other. So let's see, let me do this with my mechanical pencil. So we're going to make a circle that touches the top of our line, then comes down and touches the bottom of our line. You could either do one side at a time. That might be easier than going all the way around. There we go. So we have a circle. All right, so once we have our circle or our oval or our squishy circle like mine, we're going to do another light line and we're going to split the oval in half. So same distance from the top as the distance from the bottom. And I also brought a piece of scratch paper with me today so I can show you guys examples of what to do. So for instance, this was my head shape. This might be your head shape. You see how yours is more of an upside down egg? It can be like that. And there's one more head shape. You could do the long oval like that. So just whatever shape you want to do, you could use that shape, but I like to use a more round shape. Hey Mom, thanks for watching. And so we did our light line across. I'm going to do a little bit darker for you. And don't worry about these lines. When we color everything, all this is going to be covered up. And you also have your eraser. So we've split it down the middle. We split it across the center there. And this is where we're going to find our eyes. So I'm going to have you take your pencil, put it in the center where those two lines cross, and move it about an inch and a half over, and make a little circle. Make a little dot. That's where one of our eyes is going to go. Then about that same distance from there, so see how big that is? That same distance from there, you're going to want to make another circle. That's about where our eye is going to go. Now, I may have made my eyes too close together, because see, if I try to draw an eye over this, oh no, it's going to work. Yay! So you got your two little circles, so you're going to want to make a circle right here. That's where the eyeball is going to go. Those little dots are just for reference. Let me get a drink of kombucha. And we made our circles. So if you need a piece of scratch paper and you need to practice making circles before you make your circles on your paper, I always recommend doing that. That's what a sketchbook is for. It's for practicing. So you want to make two circles about the same size. Those are going to be your irises with your pupils inside them. So we're going to make a shape that is a curvy shape, or curvy line, like that, or like that, or like that. And that's going to be the top of our eye. So we're going to start from where the line is, and we're going to go, make my eyes about that big, like that. And make sure they touch the circle, okay? And then you're going to do it to the other side. Try to make it just as big as the other eye. And you want it to touch. See how it touches there? Now, if your eyes stick up more on the outsides, then you want to make this higher. So it would go up there instead of down there. So now we're going to do the bottom of our eye, and we're going to make the upside down curvy line and kind of make a shape like a football. Kind of shaped like a football. And do it on the other side. There we go. Now I'm doing it dark so that you can see it. What you need to do is that same medium or light value so that you can erase if you need to. So there, we have two eyes. Our eyes have irises. What's the next step we want to do with the eyes? Let's do the eyelids. So the eyelids are just copy the top of the eye right over the top of the eye, and that's your eyelid. You can make it higher if your eyelids are a little bit deeper, or you can make it lower if you can't see your eyelids very well when you look forward. And there we go. We have an eyelid. And you see how I'm going back over things? It's no big deal. We're just practicing. We're in the practice phase. So if you make any mistakes or you're unsure of anything, just watch the video again and do it again. That's what I would do. So we're going to go ahead and do the nose now. We're going to wait to do the eyebrows until a little bit later. So you see this distance between the line we made for the eyes and the bottom of the face? About halfway down there. We'll put a little dot right there. Can you see that little dot? About halfway down there, you're going to make another light little line across. And these are our guidelines. Hi, everybody. These are our guidelines that let us know where everything goes. So that's how far down the nose, the bottom of the nose goes to that line. Now, how wide are we going to make the nose? How do we know how wide to make the nose? So generally speaking, and just generally, it doesn't work for everybody, for everyone. In fact, my nose is a little bit wider than these proportions, so I'm going to make up for that. Your nose might be a little bit slimmer than the general proportion, but generally, the inside of the eye, if you go straight down, that'll be the outside of your nostril. So like I said, mine's a little bit wider, so I'm going to go a little bit wider. And remember, this line is the bottom of your nose. So I made another curved line. And if you need to see a bigger version of that, my nose line is like that. Yours might be like that, or yours might be like that, but mine I'm going to do like that. And then on the other side, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to come down from the corner of the eye. I'm going to go a little bit wider because mine's a little bit wider, and make another curved line right there. Okay, guys, so while you catch up, if you haven't caught up yet, I'm going to talk a little bit about the principles of design. We use the elements of art to create the art, but to organize the art, we use the principles of design. So what we're doing here, I don't know if you've noticed, but we're doing the same thing on one side of the face as we're doing on the other side of the face. And what that's called is called balance or symmetry. So we're arranging elements on either side of the center line. So that's your first principle of design, is balance. So that's awesome. So let's move on to the center of the nose. So remember that circles we were drawing for the eyes? Well, we're going to do similar things for the nose. Like I said, my nose is a little wider than general proportions. So instead of a circle, mine's going to be kind of an oval or a squish circle. So I'm going to go right above the line, the nose line. We're going to make our squish circle or our oval or a regular circle. We're going to make that really light because we're going to erase some of that. That's not going to show. Then we'll do the nostrils after that. And the nostrils pretty much, they connect under the nose. So ideally right here. But to make them look prettier, we kind of do like an upside down teardrop. And we'll do it again on the other side. Like an upside down teardrop with a line that continues. There you go. Your nostrils might be a little bit bigger. Let me draw a nose here for you guys. So we do a nose like that, nose like that. Let's say the center of your nose is up here. So then your nostrils would be a little more noticeable and they would be underneath. And you wouldn't exactly see the nose sitting down on the base of the nose. And then I'm going to do a little mark to identify where my nose goes out from. So that gives a little form to our nose. And we're going to use our eraser to erase the outside of this circle because we don't need this circle. All right, guys, we're going to pause for a minute because I got to let my cat in because she's just going to sit out there and meow until I let her in. Who's got a cat? If you got a cat, say meow, meow. Come on. All right, guys, so we have our eyes and we have our nose. You can shade in the nostrils if you want to. So let's do the mouth next. And where do you think the mouth goes? Have you noticed how we've been cutting everything in half before we mark it down? So I bet that if we go from the bottom of the nose to the bottom of the head, if we went halfway, that might be where the mouth goes. So we're going to measure here. We're going to see how big that is. We're going to come right in the middle and we're going to make another light line across. These are our guidelines. So the mouth is going to go there. And also, how wide are we going to make our nose? How do you know how wide to make it? Well, in general proportions, from the center of the eye, if you go down, where that line crosses our mouth line, that's how wide our mouth is going to be. So I made a little dot where those cross. So I came down from the eye to the line that I made halfway from the bottom of the nose to the mouth. And we're going to do the same on the other side. We're going to make a little dot. And that's where our mouth is going to go. So we're going to do a simple mouth. We're not going to show all the muscles in the mouth. We're just going to make a nice smile. So I'd say about the middle of the mouth hits this line. So if you're going to make a smile, your smile is going to start higher and then dip down lower that line so it kind of balances on it. So now I'm going to do my bottom lip. Depending on how thick your lips are, you could do thicker or thinner. And then the top of the lip, I'm going to give myself a nice rounded lip muscles like that. So kind of like the top of the heart. If you're doing other mouths, let's say you got a smile. If you want to pronounce the bottom of your lip less, just kind of do a line that suggests the shadow. And if you don't want to show the muscles in your lips like I did, the top one, you can simply make a line like that. So it just shows the top and it's not showing the muscle going down. So you can do it like that also. So but I did the muscles in my mouth, and I'm going to go ahead and do some smiling creases on the corner of my mouth, because when you lift your lips up, you squish your cheeks. So that's why cartoonists give these little marks right there. That's your cheeks squishing. So great, we have two eyes, we have a nose, and we have a mouth with lips on it. And I'm gonna go ahead and put some emphasis down here on the bottom of my chin. And I'm gonna give myself a little chin shadow. Okay guys, so we're missing eyebrows, ears, and hair. So to do the eyebrows, remember how we've been splitting everything in half? Yeah. So we're gonna go from the line we made from the eyes to the top of the head. And we're gonna about split this up into thirds. So we go that's an even distance here to there to there. I'm gonna make a little line here and a little line here. Now these are higher or lower, kind of simplifying the lesson because it's really a matter of fifths. And I don't know if everybody knows what fifths are. I think going thirds is stretching it a little bit, but you guys get the half, right? I hope you get the half. And if you don't, go ahead and watch the video one more time after you've reviewed it. So here, this first little mark that we made in the thirds that we broke up the top of the head, that's where your eyebrows are gonna go. So make a light line across the head, across that dot. And then, this gets a little complicated, that's why we saved it for last. You're gonna make another light line that's gonna go up from the corner of the eye, and it's gonna cross the line we made for the eyebrows. We're gonna do the same thing on the other side. We're gonna go from the corner of the eye, we're gonna make a nice little light line. Remember, our value is gonna be light until we need to emphasize the lines that we're making, and those cross over there and you make a little mark. So see how I've got two marks right there? Okay, and then the eyebrow line, you could do another little arch. Remember, we've been practicing a lot of arches. There's a lot of those lines in the face. But I also like to show the hair in my eyebrows because I love texture. So we're gonna make a nice little arc that's gonna overlap that eyebrow line. We're not gonna go above it. We're not going to go below it. We're kind of going to make that line our center. It gets a little more complicated when we talk about how wide to make the eyebrows. If you know anybody that's ever done their eyebrows, they usually take a pencil, line it up with the corner of their eye, and then they pluck, 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 or wax, wax, wax. And then they take another pencil. I use this pencil, it's easier to see. And you do a line from the corner of your nose to the corner of your eye. And then that's how far you let your eyebrows go. So I'm going to make a light little line that's going to go, or we can even use a ruler if you want to. See, there. But make the line light, super light. Practice your light drawing. We're going to do one on the other side. Oh yeah, I wanted to take it all the way up there. It's got to go all the way to the eyebrow line. There we go. And all the way to the eyebrow line. Eyebrows are looking a little bit wide, but that's okay. So we're going to do another arc here. An arc there. And I'm going to make my eyebrows. I'm going to show the hair on them. When we color this, you won't be able to see the line, the lines that we have on there, but you can also erase them. Eyebrows change direction. They change direction. So there's my thick eyebrows. And if you have thinner eyebrows, you don't have to give too much hair. I like to show that. And you see my picture is a little bit crooked. It doesn't have to be perfect. This is just our practice. You can do it again after this to do your masterpiece after you practice doing what we've done today. So we have eyebrows. This other dot we made up here, that's going to be your hairline. So we're going to go ahead, starting from about the eyebrow, and make an arch that goes just above that line. And we're going to go a little bit higher above that line. And that's where we're going to start putting our hair. So this is a little short. Like I said, it's supposed to be fifths, not thirds. So we're going to go a little bit higher because our forehead isn't big enough. There we go. So let's go ahead and give our head a neck. So we're going to go from the outside of the eye, a little bit out there, and we're going to go down to the bottom of the head. And we're going to give ourselves a neck. We're going to do the same thing over here. Give ourselves a neck. And the reason why we sketch lightly is so that we could fix our mistakes. So I'm looking at my portrait and it's looking like this part of my head is a little too wide. So I'm going to come in here on the sides and just bring it in a little bit. Bring it in a little bit and then erase the lines out there. See how easy it was to erase because I drew lightly? My cat's under the table. All right, guys, so we got our neck, and let's give ourselves some shoulders. All right, let's give ourselves some ears. So where do we put the ears? Have you noticed how everything kind of relates to everything else? The eyes go halfway down the face. The nose goes halfway from the eyes to the bottom of the face. The lips go halfway down after the nose to the bottom of the face, eyebrows, and the hairline. So the ears relate to the rest of the face also. So you're going to go from the eyebrow. Here's your eyebrow line. Do the same on the other side. Remember our eyebrow line. Then we're going to come to our nose line. Make a little mark on the outside of the face. And this is how high your ears are going to go and how low your ears are going to go. They don't exactly connect to the head there because some people's ears go up and then down. Some people's ears go way up and then down. So this would be our top and this would be our bottom. Or let's say you have big earlobes. This would be our bottom and this would be our top. So let's do some ears. So my ears go up just a little bit. So I'm going to go like that and like that. Oh, my ears are looking big. There's my big ears. They look a little big. I think I made my eyebrows too high, but that's okay. It still looks good. So let's do the fun part and add hair. I have curly hair, so I'm going to start with some curls, and I'm going to do a lot of texture because I have very textury hair, and texture is one of my favorite parts. And don't forget, your hair doesn't just sit on the top of your head. Your hair has some volume, even if you don't have a lot of volume. So the top of your hair, you're going to want to go up into this space. So go up into this space, do some hair. If you guys wait until after I finish this, I'll go over some different ways to draw hair. So there's my hair, and I'm going to fill in some more texture once I get to color. So let's go to my scratch paper so I can show you guys some hair techniques. So I'm going to draw a couple of faces. They're just sketch faces. And we got some bodies. This is just for you to watch, not for you to follow along yet, unless I do your hair type. So let's say you have straight hair. We're going to do straight hair with bangs. You know, you're going to want to take your bangs and put them down on your face, over your forehead. And then you just make some straight lines just to show some volume. Don't forget to go up above your head because your hair has volume. So there's some straight hair. Let's say you have braids. A lot of my students have braids and they like to know how to draw braids. So easy way for me to draw braids is to make a bunch of bottom of hearts. So you got the top of the heart. That part's not important. It's the bottom of the heart. So you're going to keep repeating the bottom of the heart till you get all the way down. And then you kind of do back and forth curved lines. Or if you're drawing braids in clumps or in groups, or you're drawing dreads in groups, you can also just do the curly hair thing, but make it, this also works for twists or curly hair. They're just little groups, and then when you go to put the texture in, you'll go like that. We also have men with short spiky hair. You can do the blocking method. Oh, my hand's blocking, that's not good. Which is just to show the outside texture of the hair, and then you could fill that in. If you want, you could do spikes like that, a little hair texture. So let's say we got a person here with short hair. We just do that to it. So there's some hair techniques. So we're gonna go back to mine here. All right, guys, so now we just get to add onto it before we color. We're not ready to color yet. We need to do a little bit more work. So we're going to do the inside of the ear, and just a quick inside of the ear. We've got an ear. There's the top curve of the ear that hangs over, and then there's your little, the inside of your ear. So you could just do a little like that. I'm going to do it a little cartoony. There we go. And I'm going to add a t-shirt onto me. I'm going to erase these lines depending on what kind of shirt you got on. I'm going to give myself a t-shirt. I'm going to do some texture lines to show that the top of that t-shirt is knitted. That's an easy way to do that. I'm going to give myself some eyelashes, and the eyelashes go on the top of the eye right here. Don't put your eyelashes on your eyelid. Put them attached to your eye. And eyelashes go all the way across. You can't really see them in the center, but you can put them all the way. And then I've got eyelashes on the bottom. Do that too. We're gonna give our eyes some pupils, and so that's the black part on the inside of your eye. So that's just another smaller circle inside your bigger circle. Just remember that dot was just for reference. You can color that in. We're gonna color in the rest of the eye too, but we're gonna shade that. All right, so it looks like we got everything we need there. So we're going to color this before we outline it. And I'm gonna start by coloring my skin. And I have kind of like a light brown skin. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my brown, I'm gonna start with brown, and I'm gonna lightly, with a light value, if you guys see, you hold it like this. Not like this. See how dark that is when I go like that? No, you wanna hold it sideways like that. Like you're holding chopsticks, almost. That's a good way to put it. So I'm going to color in my face, my ears, and my neck, but I'm not going to color in my eyes, and I'm not gonna color in my lips yet. So we're gonna go lightly. Even if you have darker brown skin, start your first pass on the project with going lightly, a light value. You can always build up, but you can't take away. Oh, you might wanna, we can erase all those lines. Sorry guys. Well, that's a keeper line. Let's put that line back. We can erase some of this stuff. Just remember, most of this will get covered up by coloring. So the cool thing about colors pencils is they kind of erase depending on what you have. So if you make a mistake, you can erase it. Don't have to worry about the lines in my hair. That's definitely going to get covered with texture. That's what I like about the kneaded eraser. Okay, so let's go back to coloring. So if you need to take some time from the video and practice using light pressure with your pencil or crayon, I suggest that you do that. We're still in the practice mode. In fact, you might still be in learn mode because you might have never done this before and this is the first time you're learning how to do this. I know I kind of sped through the proportion steps. That's what we were using. We were using general proportions to figure out where the features of our face go. So I'm just going to add this. Don't forget the ears. Your ears have color. I'm going to do my neck. So I'm going to start with brown. Now if you have lighter skin, you might have a lighter brown or cream or peach. So I have cream and I also have goldenrod and I use orange also for my skin. So if you have light skin, you might want to use your cream. You guys can see that, super light. And you can use this kind of tan brown and layer into it. My kids like to add orange because in the classroom we don't have all the colors. So they'll do like a light orange over the top. But very light. Remember, we could build up, but we can't take away. So I'm going to go back. I'm going to build up some more brown before I start adding my lighter skin tones. If you have dark brown skin, just keep building up. If you have darker brown skin than the browns you have, build up with just a little bit of black, but do it very lightly. You can always add on, but you can't take away. And don't forget, it's okay to make mistakes. You're still learning or practicing, and that's what it's all about. It's all about learning from what we do. All right, so I think I've added enough brown. You guys probably can't see it. Colors don't really pick up on this very well. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and add a little bit of cream in there just to blend it in. And I'm pressing a little bit harder because this is a light color. And so it doesn't really put as much intensity of the color into the page. All right. What do you think? Do I need a little bit more brown? Remember, we can keep adding. What's great about color pencils and oil pastels is you can keep mixing as long as you keep it light. Okay. What we got there? No, that looks pretty good. Okay, so I'm going to go back to my brown because my eyes are dark brown, and we're going to color in the irises. Now for this, you want some intensity in the color. You want a little extra pigment, so you can kind of go dark. So you notice I'm doing this. It's also hard to go like this in a tight space. So this is small space. You can go ahead and get a little bit dark there. There's my iris. If you have blue eyes, use your blue. If you have more colors than what I'm using, go ahead and use those colors. But I'm using a limited amount of colors so that people that have limited resources can still follow along. Okay, so we colored in the eyes. Let me give my lips a light red tint. I think I'm going to do a little combo of red and some peach, because you still have a bit of a skin tone to your lips. Unless you're wearing lipstick, your lips are not red. A little bit of peach. Okie dokie. Looks like I forgot to color under my eyelids. Just go in there. They're a little bit darker anyway, so we can go a little light, a little dark. Okay, great. Well, let's also color our hair. So if you already drew your hair, you can go in and add texture. Remember what I went over? You can add some more lines if you have straight hair to show texture. Don't think I showed you guys wavy hair, but we showed wavy hair in our texture. So you just follow the motion of the lines. So I'm just gonna add some curls. Let's just make it fun. We don't have to be that serious. We're just practicing. I don't have a test on this later. Or do I? Am I gonna have a test? I don't know. I hope I paid attention. And I have dark brown hair. So I'm going to add a little bit of black in here. Now you see I'm not coloring the hair in all the way because I want to emphasize the texture. By the way, emphasis is part of our principles of design. It's how you know what to focus on. And for this one, I think the emphasis is my hair and my eyes. And we're going to emphasize those even more when we start to use our marker. So see how much texture I have in there? I'm going to add a little curl. Yeah. Okie dokie. So we've colored that part. Let's color our shirt. Whatever is your favorite color, color your shirt your favorite color. My favorite color is green. So I'm going to do green. You could add a little more pressure for coloring this unless you're mixing colors together. If you wanted to make like a rainbow shirt, I would probably go a little bit lighter on the pressure. There's my green shirt. All right, I'm going to give this a background with color. So we're going to fill in the negative space with a pattern. So if you want to follow along with me to do the background, choose your favorite shape. If you like stars, if you like polka dots, I love hearts. So I'm going to put a bunch of hearts in the background. And I'm going to put them in a pattern. So they're going to be about the same distance apart. And it's going to be repeated to the pattern that I like it. So we're going to keep going up here. We're going to do the same thing on the other side. Making a pattern involves repeating. So that's why we're doing it the same distance every time. And we're going to do it again. It's okay if your pattern gets messed up. This is just practice. If I was doing a masterpiece, I might plan this out ahead of time. All right, so we got the hearts. So we have 2 eyes, we have a nose, we have a mouth, we have ears, we have eyebrows, we have a neck, we have shoulders, we have texture, we have color, we have symmetry because one side is about the same as the other, and we have asymmetry because I part my hair on the side. So last step, and this is the last part, is we're going to take our felt tip marker. You can use a regular pen if you want, but I'm using a felt tip marker because I want really thick lines. If you're using oil pastels and you don't have a felt tip marker, just use the black oil pastel. Or if you have color pencils and you don't have a black marker, use your black color pencil. So what I'm going to do first of all is I'm going to take, and this wasn't in the materials needed, I'm going to take an extra sheet of paper. It can be blank paper, it could be scratch paper, but I'm going to take an extra sheet of paper and I'm going to put it underneath my drawing. So I'm just going to put it underneath there so that if I'm using the felt tip marker, it doesn't bleed through. So what we're going to do is we're going to start off and we're going to outline our head. So we're going to outline our head from just a little bit down the ear because we want to see the top of the ear. And we're going to go all the way around until just below our ear. Unless your hair covered up your ears, you're going to show the shape of your ears. This side it covered up, so if it's covered, then you can't see it, so it won't be there. We're going to do our neck, and our neck's going to flow into our shoulders. We're going to do the other side of our neck, and it's going to flow into our shoulders. All right, we're going to outline our hair. We're not going to do all the curly parts. We're just going to do the outside. So I'm going to start over here and I'm going to outline all the stuff that I colored. I'm going to outline all the stuff that I colored. There we go. Now we're going to do our eyes. So we're going to do the top of the eye. We're going to do the bottom of the eye. We're going to do the top of the eye. And we're going to do the bottom of the eye. And then we're going to do the outside of our irises on both sides, because remember the circles touch, so you don't do a whole circle when you're outlining it, because the outline of the eyelids will cover that up. So we did our irises, and we're going to color in our pupils. If you don't color it all the way, if you just do like, instead of a whole circle, if you just go like this, a half circle, it will represent the light reflecting out of your eyes, which can give you a little more of an animated look. So I'm going to give my eyelashes, because the eyelashes don't show all the way, I'm not going to use the marker all the way there. You'll still kind of be able to see the pencil lines. I'm going to do my eyebrows, and remember I said I like to show the hair on my eyebrows. There we go. We're going to do our nose, so you're going to do that outside nostril outline. The other one, we're going to do the bottom of our nose, and we're going to do our nostrils. And then I have that nice little, where I show that my nose is round. And then we're going to do the middle of our smile. We're going to do the top of our lips, and we're going to do the bottom of our lips. Remember, I gave myself some nice little smile lines. We could do the inside of our ears, and I didn't do the inside of my hair, so I need to do this here. And I'm going to do the decoration on my t-shirt. Do these little lines. Now you see how you could barely see any of the accident lines? They're the reference lines that I made. Do your eyelids as well. It's all just covered up. You can't see any of it. That's the reference. So I'm going to go ahead and put my name down here. We're going to go by Miss Liberty. Okay, and hopefully you have a completed self-portrait now, and maybe you learned a little something about proportions. Maybe you know the elements of art a little better. Maybe you learned a little bit about balance in the principle of design. We learned a little bit about emphasis. We learned a little bit about pattern. And let me tell you about unity. So unity is how all this stuff works together. It's how our masterpiece becomes such a masterpiece, because we used all of our tools, our elements of art, to create a masterpiece. So stay tuned on my profile, and I think I'm going to add this video